Welcome once again to SoCo Chat, a podcast where we hear directly from county leaders, discuss the latest news, and talk about all things concerning our beautiful corner of California known as Sonoma County. Hello, everybody. Welcome back once again to SoCo Chat. I'm your host, Paul Gullickson, Communications Manager for the County of Sonoma. And it's been another hectic week here in Sonoma County with all of the storms and some moderate flooding of the Russian River and some mudslides that have taken out a few homes in the area. Joining us today is Jorge Rodriguez, Community Alert and Warning Program Manager for the Sonoma County Department of Emergency Management. We want to get a quick update from Jorge about the impacts of the storms and the county's response. But the main reason we invited Jorge to join us is that he recently returned from Southern California, where he was one of about 10 Sonoma County workers, not including firefighters, who went down to lend a hand to assist the County of Los Angeles and the cities within that area in responding to the firestorms that swept through that area over the past month. On today's episode, we dive into the vital role that this system known as mutual aid plays in helping communities respond to these catastrophic natural events like wildfires, something that Sonoma County benefited from with that kind of support in 2017. So as of this recording, both the Eden and Palisades fires down in Southern California, 100% contained. So that's certainly the good news. So with that, let's get right into our discussion. Jorge, thank you for being with us.
Thank you, Paul. Thanks for allowing me to be here.
Yeah, well, as of this recording, we're recording on Friday morning at 10 a.m. It's been a crazy week. The sun is shining, which is fantastic, but I know it's been a long week for you. Let's talk about the storm update, if you will. We had a lot of rain this week, right?
A lot of rain, and just to give you the brief of where we're at right now, of course, like you mentioned, we do have a few landslides in the area. So with that, a few road closures throughout the county. We did lose, or there are a few homes that have been red tagged, and unfortunately, too, the sheriff's office coroner also announced the death of 2 community members in the county, unfortunately, as a result of the storms. But the sun might be out right now, but we are tracking some rain in the forecast here into next week. How heavy and how much rain we'll get in the next few days, we'll see that early next week, and we'll start to plan for that as well. So it might be shining right now, but we are, it's still good to know what's going on and be ready to take action.
Well, you mentioned the 2 deaths. We don't really know the circumstances behind that. We had one out in Alexander Valley. A gentleman was found in a culvert, and then out on West Santa Rosa. I know that there was off of Sanford Road, there was somebody found there too. We still don't know the circumstances, but we do know that, no matter how many times we warn people not to drive through high water, it still happens. I mean, we had like 10 water rescues over the course of just this week.
Indeed, the big message there, you see flooded roadway, turn around, don't drown.
Yeah.
And it could save a lot of heartache, for sure.
Yeah, and it may look safe, especially in that early dawn hours. But it too often you get into that and you find out too late that it's not safe.
Yeah, exactly. And the water may be flowing slowly, or it may look like it's flowing slowly, at the top or as you're looking at it, but underneath, it could be going very rapidly. So, turn around, don't drown.
Yeah. Well, so the river peaked around 36.5 feet on midday Wednesday, which is in that moderate flood zone. We did have some damage out there. It's now dropped about 10 feet since then, so that's certainly good news. Like you said, we have a little more rain coming next week, but hopefully we'll have a sunny weekend here. And I know Department of Emergency Management, we opened an emergency operations center, which is an EOC, which often opens when there's a crisis of this kind.
Right, and there are a few county departments who staff the EOC and have a few different roles within the center to coordinate the response that we're experiencing to the rain incident. It's still currently activated. We're still activated as of today, and we'll see what's it's gonna look like as we go into next week. And before we get too far and forget here, the water did recede from the river. We were looking at that 26-ish foot level. but that area that was under evacuation order is now still under evacuation
Okay.
warning. So something for folks in that area to remember that the sheriff's downgraded the evacuation order to a warning. That's still in effect. It'll likely remain in effect through that next storm. And of course, if it goes higher or goes into that those flooding stages, go back into an evacuation
Yeah.
order. So be
And
ready.
our grounds are saturated, so we still have that landslide risk. We have that landslide out in Rincon Valley area that took out at least a couple of homes out there, and
Right.
then others are at risk. So you're watching that carefully, I know as
Right.
well.
Yeah, and if there's any land movement that folks see, call 911 as a priority to get the emergency services out there and take a look.
Yeah. Well, thank you for all your work as always, Jorge. The main reason we asked you in today was to talk about your response down in Southern California. So, this is, as we said, system is known as mutual aid. Tell us, if you would, what motivated you to volunteer and join the response? I mean, obviously it's a volunteer thing. They put out an appeal, and you responded.
Sure. Yeah, that's just it. There was a need for mutual aid. The emergency management uses emergency management mutual aid as a program through the state. And if any local jurisdiction, city or county, needs help to staff their EOC or support in the response, they'll put the call out. And we here at the Department of Emergency Management here in Sonoma, we were watching the fires and what was happening there, from the onset, when it started there on January 7th. And about a week after it started, we started to see the calls for assistance from the city of Malibu specifically for different areas. So I checked with my family and made sure that they were going to be
So
set,
you can make-
and that I'd be able to respond. I checked with my department leadership and management on being able to assist. And sure enough, I went down there for a week, about a week and a half after the fires had started. Still a lot going on for the city of Malibu. But it was an overall opportunity to one, get more experience, but also see how they perform or how they work
Yeah.
and respond to
Yeah.
an emergency, in other places. So,
Well, we certainly understand the benefit of that. We got a lot of help in 2017 and in other years. We had other wildfires that mutual aid came and helped us. And what we've discovered, and many counties and cities discover, is there's a lot of adrenaline that'll carry us through those first 24, 48 hours. But you still need to have constant people working around the clock to get out information, to provide support. And we don't have the bandwidth. We need those people coming from the outside. That's sort of what you did, right?
exactly. And to give you some perspective on that, the city of Malibu only has about 100 employees.
Mm.
So if you're talking about staffing the emergency operations center, still trying to continue and have some critical city operations continue, but for that 24-hour period or 12-hour period, 7 days a week, it does get taxing on personnel and resources. So that's where the emergency management mutual aid comes in. That EMMA program comes in to get folks in there to assist.
That's fantastic. And so tell us specifically what was it that you did for the city of Malibu down there?
So the specific call was for public information, and
Okay.
I was
We know that.
and it was in the public information section for the week. I took on the role as the public information officer there for a few of the days that I was there, and it's really about making sure that the right people get the right information at the right time. That's the role of a PIO, and that's what we did. And what I did there in Malibu. So it's putting the messages together that the city would use on their social media and their websites, the information to provide for the electeds and city officials, also as well as coordinating that up through the county, kind of on the overall, who was also experiencing the other fires there as well, to get that coordinated message sent out to the community so that they stay informed and are able to take the actions they need.
Yeah, and that information includes everything from damage risk, the risk from wildfires, the damage assessment, what roads are closed, what's open, what's where resources available for those who need them. I mean, all those things, right?
everything and anything, because really they also had power outages. So where folks might not be getting information, how do we get information out to them, and just keeping a pulse on what questions they do have to kind of also provide that information overall.
Well, you're certainly no stranger to providing wildfire support. We've been through this together. You've operated as the lead in the Emergency Operations Center here in Sonoma County. Did you find any challenges when you first arrived, especially being from a different county?
It's kind of that person coming from the outside, right? They don't know who I am.
Right.
I'm the stranger, so building that trust, very quickly with them, and kind of letting them know that I'm there to help.
Mhm.
There's a need, there's a call made for assistance, and I'm there to support them. So
Mhm.
if there's something that specific they need, whether it was a PIO support, or even if I needed to be a hotline operator,
Mhm.
it's letting them know that they're to function in whatever role the city needs at that
Yeah,
time.
yeah. Well, that's good. Well, obviously, I'm sure it's a you're becoming a quick study when you're there. You're drinking from a fire hose. All this information and
Right.
learning the area and processing it really quickly. Were there things that we've learned here in Sonoma County from our disaster response? We've had quite a few that you believe is helpful for those in other areas to learn, and vice versa. Did you take away some things that you might help you in your job here in Sonoma County?
Yeah, it one of the things that I remember, and remind myself of going to an activation, whether it's here at home or going somewhere else, is that it's a marathon, not a sprint,
Right.
right? And then if we're going to have an extended activation period, uh, making sure that we go slow in order to go farther. So you
Right.
go slow to go farther, because we're looking at not just what's happening right now, but what could be happening 7 to 10 days out in the future, which
Mhm.
is what we're doing right now with the rain, right? So
Mhm.
it's one of those things to remember. But um, in the situation with Malibu, they had just had a fire
Mhm.
in December, just a few weeks prior
Oh,
to
right.
this one,
Okay.
the Franklin fire there in December. So they just came out of that. Now they have a fire in January, and it's another large significant event for the area and the community. So going back to back, having that extension again, reminding each other to take care of each other, but take care of yourself too.
Yeah.
Ensuring that uh, if you need the rest, you take the rest. If you
Right.
need a break during the work period, take a short break.
Yeah.
Um, and the efforts in training and exercises that we do here kind of have shown that we have that capacity, being able to ensure that the county staff is trained and ready to support us in the
Mhm.
EOC whenever we need them.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate particularly your point about taking care of yourselves, because, and I'm sure that's something, one of the reasons they really appreciate you being down there, because those who may not recognize, I mean, Malibu is just a little north of Pacific Palisades, which was really the focus of that fire. And so there are a lot of people that probably have relatives, family, friends down in that
Hmm.
area, or may even live down there and work in Malibu. And so, having somebody come in that can really just focus on that job is probably a great resource for them,
Right.
and they appreciate it, no
Mhm.
doubt. And like we said, this is a marathon, not a sprint, and being reminded. I think people don't often recognize that when the county opens an emergency operations center, so much is built into the planning, not just where we are today, but where are we going to be tomorrow? What are we going to need a week from now? Making sure that we are in it for the long haul,
Mhm.
right?
Exactly.
Yeah,
Right.
and that's what you guys are doing right now. So, well, as many of our listeners may know that you are bilingual, Jorge, and in fact, you're going to be on our guest on. We're going to do a version of this SoCo Chat Espanol with Karina Garcia as your host. As a bilingual speaker, how did your language skills come into play while supporting the firefighting efforts? Did it help?
It came into play a little bit this go around.
Uh-huh.
Being the main PIO, I did have an impromptu interview with Univision at one point while I was down there, on their re-entry efforts as they were getting back into re-entry, and I was also able to check the social media posts and
Hmm.
things that were going out through other sections of public information to ensure that they were consistent and correct with the information that we had on the English side.
Yeah.
So it comes into play in those spaces, even if I'm not the one who's primarily doing that
Right.
bilingual function.
Yeah. Well, I know that that's something we've been working on here in the county, that there are times, particularly in moments of crises, that there are language barriers to getting information out. And we are trying to break down those barriers, particularly for our Spanish speaking residents. And do you think we're making progress in that area? What's your thoughts on that?
I think, coming from 2019 when I was here in
Mhm.
Sonoma County as a mutual aid responder from another county
Right.
for the Kincaid fire, going through what we did in 2020 and to now with the floods, that it's definitely improving.
Mhm.
We're making the headway to where we want to be. We have the English and Spanish down. We're what's that next step? And I
Right.
think we in Sonoma County are always looking at that next step.
Yeah,
Where
how
do
we
we go
can
from here, and how do
yeah.
we get better and better?
Yeah, I completely agree. Real quick, you give us about your background. Where did you come from? You say you started in 2019, right in the midst of the I assume that was the Kincaid fire at that time?
Yeah, so I started my emergency management career in with the county of San Luis Obispo. I
Mhm.
was there for about 5 years.
Okay.
In 2019, I came up during Kincaid as a EMA responder,
There
under
you
mutual aid,
that's how we get to
and
know our good people.
and then in 2020, I joined the Department of Emergency Management as the alert and warning coordinator there during the pandemic, and have been here ever since.
Oh, that's fantastic. Well, that's great. That shows another benefit of our mutual aid system, that sometimes we get some good people from there. So
Yeah, and just to let you know, I'm not going down to the city of Malibu right now.
no,
So.
not right. Yeah, well, thank you. Well, were there just to recap? Were there any moments that you found particularly emotional or stood out to you about your experience down south? I mean, that was a difficult time.
Yeah, like I mentioned, it was about a week and a half after the fire had started,
Mhm.
so it's been a long time since folks were told to evacuate.
Mhm.
So you could tell that the community was really anxious and was really wanting to go back into the area, whether
Yeah.
it was to where their home once stood, or to their home because it was unaffected. They wanted to get back in, and we've had our share of fire experience here. And just similar to there, folks wanted to get in. They were hungry for information. You could feel the kind of the want, right?
Mhm.
And just serving the areas along Pacific Coast Highway there, took a drive. Knew
Mm.
that it was going to be a long term for recovery, and it's
Mm.
going to take a while for that area to really rebound. Just because of the devastation of the fire itself.
Yeah, it's so heartbreaking to see those images of those,
Yeah.
and it's so familiar too to see
Right.
the damage. So there were people who had fled from Pacific Palisades north to Malibu area. Did you have an evacuation center there?
There was some not within the city of Malibu, because some parts of the city were also under evacuation
Oh, right,
order.
right.
But to some degree, there were still power outages, so not
Yeah.
a lot of shelter ability there. But folks really spread throughout the Southern California area for sure,
Okay. All
and
right.
getting them that information, of course, being
Okay.
a priority.
Well, your expertise is alert and warning, and I'm just interested in what you think is the next step for improving our wildfire preparedness and our alert and warning systems across the region from these experiences.
Yeah, it's one of the things that we've seen. We want to ensure that we are ready to send out those alerts, but we also want the community to also be ready to receive them.
Yeah.
Kind of knowing what the systems we have available
Getting them
to us,
signed up.
getting them signed up and registered. For our SoCo alert system, it allows us to send the messages through voice message, text message, email. SoCoalert.com is a place to register for that system. We also use the wireless emergency alert.
Mhm.
It makes the loud buzzing sound, as well as sends you the message. No need to register, but just ensuring that the phones are programmed and set to receive them. Don't turn those off. We've seen a lot of stories where, after some type of a fluke or an oops of the system, there's information out there on how to turn them off.
Uh-huh.
And that's one of the things that we do not want you
Yeah.
to do. Making sure that you're able to get those alerts,
Yeah.
and as well as the NOAA weather radio is another system that we use here within the county. Having that system allows us to use something outside of AM/FM radio or cell phone. It doesn't use those same networks, so we're able to use it as a redundant system. And going back to AM/FM radio, still one that we can use, not necessarily for the alerting, but more on the public information side. Keeping folks informed. So if there are power outages, if their cell phone is down, still being able to tune into a local AM or FM radio station, still getting the information that way.
Yeah, we know how valuable that was.
Exactly.
And all the fires we've had.
Right.
So, well, again, remind people how can they sign up? What's the best way to sign up for SoCo Alert if they have not already?
If they have not already, SoCoAlert.com. That's the main page. It'll take you to the information page for the system. There's a link in there to register your address, multiple addresses, multiple phone numbers, different ways to get connected. SoCoAlert.com.
And we also want to make a plug for SoCoEmergency.org, which is the Maine County website for all things you need to know about our emergency response, whether it's related to floods, wildfires, or preparation.
SoCo Emergency. Yep. It'll have the three different areas there. Right now, get ready. Start to know how to make your go bag, information on your zones. Like you're saying, the emergency side for the current updated information. It's currently active with the landslide and the flooding information there. And as we get into any recovery mode, there's the recovery page there as well.
Yeah. Well, Jorge, I can't thank you enough for being in here and for representing our county and going out and lending a hand down in Southern California. As we said at the outset, you were one of about 10 county workers. We had people from Animal Services, Jeff Duvall himself, the director of Department of Emergency Management. He went down to help. And so, we give back, and I commend you for stepping up and doing that. So
I appreciate it.
Yeah. So thank you for being here. And as a token of our appreciation, we know you already have a SoCo Chat mug, but we're going to let you take a water flask or some other swag that you would like of your choice. And to our listeners, we just thank you once again for joining us. We hope you continue to follow SoCo Chat on Spotify, Apple Music, Amazon, and of course, YouTube. We'll see you next time. Thank you, Jorge.
Thank you, Paul.